The Godfather trilogy has been debated as either a masterpiece or a complete failure, and for me, I think having a third movie was completely necessary, just not this one. It ends just as unsatisfying as Godfather 2, with Michael's lone fight for his family's name, his mother dying, Kay leaving, and the killing of his brother Fredo. So how, to conclude The Godfather, does the final movie end with Michael dying alone? His first wife dies, his second wife remarries, his family betrays him, his daughter dies in his hands, and that's it? That's our ending? Now look, I had my qualms with Godfather 2, as I talked about previously, but in comparison to 3, this sequel is literally an Oscar winner, both literally and figuratively. Here though is my actual main issue with Godfather 3, other than the forced incestuous relationship. It's the fact that the story actually starts 2 hours in, when Michael says that all he wanted was out and the family out. Well, that seemed to be pretty easy when he handed everyone the sold casino checks, so now I'm just really confused what the whole point of this movie was for, especially dealing with new made-up villains that honestly just seemed unnecessary. Michael says he wants things to be legitimate from here on out, but there's nothing in the first 2 hours that acts as a catalyst to Michael's want. It isn't to get Kay back since she's remarried, it isn't for his children's sake since they have never once been targets, and even when the daughter dies at the end, it was just a mistake. So why did he want out, and especially now? Old age and regrets? And speaking of old age, that's another issue I have here. In all 3 films now, we've harped on old age. Don Vito's old age, Hyman Roth's old age and his 20-year-old stroke, and now Michael's old age with diabetes. What I found to be the most interesting part of Godfather 3 was just a line said in passing. Not even 20 years ago did Michael sell the Las Vegas casinos.
Our business together is done.
See, I actually wish Godfather 3 was about that. I've already seen old age. I want to see a younger, active Michael wanting to be there for his high school age children, wanting to repair his relationship with Kay, because after he killed his brother and with half of his family gone, you would think he would want to hold on to his own family, and that's why he would have sold the casino shares. In Godfather 1, we see a Don in old age with adult children. In Godfather 2, we see a Don with newborns, and I just think since Michael had always been a little different, it would have been good to have seen him as a Don choose to be there for his family over regretting it almost 20 years too late.
You are my treasure.
Hence the gold star to writing, show not tell, and all Godfather 3 does is tell. If Godfather 3 took place during the casino sale timeline, the movie could have been about the other families here not wanting that, trying to get Michael to stop that decision, and still include an estranged Vincent trying to take control. And here's my thing about Vincent. I like him. I like the guy. Now, I may be biased because I've always been a Sonny truther,
Like his father.
and he's also the spitting image of Luke Wilson, but I thought it was a very clever idea to make him exist because of Sonny's obvious affairs in Godfather 1, but Vincent is also, what, 4 to 6 years older than Michael's son Anthony? There could have been a little rivalry there, watching your father favor your cousin over you. We'll talk about Mary in a second, but it just seems like Michael's kids in this film are useless. Not contextually, but just to the story overall. I mean, anyone could have been singing in that final performance, and it wouldn't have made a difference. Now, for Vincent, it could have been like A Place in the Sun, where the movie starts with Clint Eastwood's character George Eastman, a nephew to an estranged tycoon uncle, who helps him move up in the family business. In this case, Godfather 3 could have also started the story with Vincent, and maybe him intercepting the Las Vegas casino sale, him being in love with Mary, his first cousin, by the way, doesn't honestly make sense with the way the film started. He seemed to have only shown interest in her once he found out she was Michael's daughter, and I'm supposed to believe in this Romeo and Juliet story? And as much as the other families try to tear Michael down, did nobody want to try to turn Connie against him by telling her the truth?
Sometimes I think of poor Fredo, drowned.
But let's go back to Godfather 2 and where it set up the third movie wrong. There's just too many deaths. I personally don't think the mother should have died till Godfather 3, and I know it was necessary in order to kill Fredo. There just should have been some kind of carryover villain. As I said, in Godfather 3, we're still missing the catalyst, or as they call it in screenwriting, the inciting incident that makes Michael want out of the mafia underworld. The death of his mother could have been this, especially if it was a part of a retaliation, but with no believable catalyst, I have no connection to this movie, especially for the first 2 hours. I did, however, really like the diabetes attack Michael has about Fredo, but again, this just would have been better 20 years earlier in the story. As we know, he sent Fredo down to assist with the Las Vegas real estate, and this would have made even more sense as to why Michael sold the casinos. Not just to get out, but because of his grappling guilt over Fredo. I mean, what's a family business if your family ultimately turns on you?
We spent time like this before.
Now look, I don't mean to harp on this badly. I know that there is a huge time gap between Godfather 2 and Godfather 3 compared to the 2-year time gap between the first and the second. There's also no doubt here that Francis Ford Coppola isn't still a GOAT director. His mise-en-scène in all 3 films have been impeccable. He blocks like literally no other. His locations are always beautiful in its set design and production design. The costumes always look authentic and expensive. I loved Michael's gold tie pin. He knows how to throw a good party and he knows how to put on a good show. However, when he is so good at what's happening on screen, his weakness in writing becomes unbelievably clear, and that's the biggest downfall in Godfather 3. So let's go through it. Starting on a voiceover is already a bad sign. It's an easy cop-out to tell instead of show. Addressing Tom Hagen's death in passing was a little inconsiderate, though I understand the circumstances, but having his son be involved in the film really added nothing overall. Same with the blonde reporter, Grace Hamilton, who came and went and had nothing to add to the overall story. No special photo, no publications. Penting up Joey Saza as this film's villain was pretty interesting, but then just killing him an hour later was a waste of a storyline. After that, I mean, there was really no standout villain except for, again, another old person. This whole deal with Immobilier never amounts to anything worthwhile, and the whole mafia underworld now just seems to care a little too much about money, which would make sense in a Martin Scorsese film, also hi to Martin Scorsese's mother, but not in the world of The Godfather, which seemed to value honor and respect over greed. Or at least that's what it started on. Mary is just there. Again, some of the best context here are in lines said in passing when Don Altobello says that with Michael gone, the girl would control everything. So if Anthony didn't want to take over the family business, it would have been more interesting to see Mary as a dominant woman for change, but all we got is confused puppy love.
You don't have to do this.
This isn't writing, but the new pope and the assassin looked exactly the same, so I was a little confused here. And lastly, the characterization of Michael just feels butchered. His expositional internal dialogue, "I will sin no more," felt so wrong. He's asking God why he was feared.
Why was I so feared?
I mean, Tom Hagen asked him to spare Hyman Roth's life in Godfather 2,
Says you can kill anyone.
and Michael did not do that. I just feel like his immense feeling of guilt is coming too late in his life. And while Godfather 3 brings in a lot of nostalgia, Johnny Fontaine, Sonny's Mistress, Genko, Apollonia, I'm missing the 20 years worth of context to really understand Michael's switch of heart now. Lastly, I'll leave you guys with just another little fun thing I noticed. As you guys know, in Godfather 1, I mentioned their fish symbolism, where Luca Brasi enters the bar with fishes on the window pane to foreshadow him swimming with the fishes. In Godfather 2, this again becomes more literal with all of the fish tanks. And while there's no fish in Godfather 3, there are more oranges than normal and suspected symbolism with statues/figures. My theory is that these statues foreshadow death. Like here, the fallen figure, then Joey Saza's death. They even talked about Joey Saza's death in front of a Jesus statue. The death of the Pope was announced over shots of buildings with statues on top. There's the Mary figure again, followed by the death of the new Pope. There's the Jesus figure during the opera, then Don Altobello's death. Then the shot of 5 statues on another building, foreshadowing the 5 coming deaths. Archbishop, Don Lucchese, Paolo, Mary, and then Michael. Now in the Palazzo Hotel, there's no clean shot of a statue to open up the scene, but there are statues and oranges in the room, so that's why this is a theory, because with the re-edit of Godfather 3 and CODA, perhaps the statue/figure symbolism was more consistent in the original. Anyway, in conclusion, the pieces, they're all there. I still believe Godfather 3 should have taken place during the casino trades, but having a third and final movie was a good idea, just the execution was poor. And now the Godfather trilogy ends with a stain to its once flawless reputation. But if we just ignore the third movie, Godfather 1 and 2 were pretty awesome, right?